first day you become a cop and you put your first bulletproof vest on, it's a freaking nightmare because it's stiff and it's square and you sit down and it hits you in the throat and it's just a nightmare. And so I'll ask the people in the crowd, you know, do you remember that? And everybody laughs, right, Raul? Everybody laughs,
Yeah.
goes, oh, I remember that day.
Everybody remembers.
And
Yeah.
and then I go, when's the last time you thought about that day? And they're like, oh, I ain't thought about that in 20 years. That's because in between those 20 years or 10 years or 15 years, you've got so much radical stuff going on that you're not paying attention to this over here. So that's just the way it looks like from a different angle. I always try to look at things from different angles. And the same thing that like we've been talking about with the stigma thing and asking for help. What I had to learn, because Chris brought up the professional athlete, I I spent, and you know, you guys know this, like I spend 8 hours a day every day of my life, 300 and how many days in the year?
65.
365 for one day, for one race, for one day. And I had to tell myself, like, you spend all that time and effort to make this better, this physical being. We got to looking at our mental health in the same capacity. Now, if you're a scholar like Karen, you spent all those years in school to get these fancy degrees like Scallon, right? That's the same thing. You spend all that money to make yourself better and all that time and effort to become, to become rank, to get degrees, to do stuff like that. There is no difference in spending that effort into making your mental health, your computer, as I call it, better. The same effort. So don't look at it as a stigma thing. Look at it as I'm so awesome and I am so prepared to be the best that I could be that I'm willing to go in this direction too. I mean, it almost sounds like common sense, don't it, guys? I like,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
we
we,
failed
we
at,
should
we
be
clearly failed. We all failed miserably at it, but it
we should
makes,
we should be training we should be training all of it, right? I mean,
yeah,
as you
yes.
go in for firearms training, maybe we should be doing some stress management, some resiliency training. So yeah, we should be doing all of that, but that's not what's happened in the last
Yeah.
20 years. I mean, I always say, and Chris, we talked about this before, is uh, when you get hired, they give you that one psych test, right? What state is that? Minnesota state test or whatever the hell it is. Yeah,
There's
so
a
you,
test that asks you if you love your mom 15,000 times.
yeah, and
Yeah. Or you hear,
if you get angry, do you kick your dog when you get angry? So I ask the same questions, 10 different ways to see if you're gonna lie or whatever. So, but anyway, you take that test at year one, or 0 year. Then you get on the job, and I submit to you that the officer at 0 year is going to be different than the officer at year five, different than the officer at year 10. And we never give them another psych eval. We never give them another psych test to see how they're doing. It's kind of, from that baseline of zero, where do you
Clearly
at
that
at
shit
15?
failed with me.
What's that?
I said, clearly that shit failed with me. That
yeah.
first one, like, damn, if I slid back, they need to be doing them on on a damn yearly.
Here's issues that we have. Because I talk to there's two major issues. When we talk and Doug, Raul, and myself, we speak nationally and we kind of go out there. One of the questions I ask is if a coworker or somebody that you like, because some people work with people they hate, but if any coworker came up to you and said, "Hey, listen, last night I was thinking about killing myself," I ask by show of hands who's going to help. Everybody raises their hand, with the exception of 2 or 3 people that are asleep or on their phones. Everybody raises their hand. The next question I ask is, if you're struggling, how many people are willing to reach out for help? Almost nobody raised their hand. So that's major problem. We're more apt to help somebody else, a stranger or somebody that we work with, than we are ourselves. The second thing is, as we kind of go through, I ask people, what is your self care? What do you do for self care? And I'll get these answers always: read a book, exercise, and that's it. That's pretty much the majority of the answers I get. The
Remember the
problem,
answer you got out of that chick in Chicago PD?
Which one?
When we were at Chicago PD, remember that girl? Uh, I think she was in the video, kind of pretty red haired
Paramedic.
Yeah.
paramedic.
Hmm.
And they go, "What do you do for self-care?" And she goes, "I take care of myself every night for about 2 minutes when I'm in bed with with her little buddy or something." You remember that? That was hilarious. But
I
at least she
do.
was honest. She's like, "That's my self-care."
The problem is, I'll get that. And normally you'll
Uh,
get the guys and girls that are in a tactical unit, they're like exercise. And some of the folks that are, and again, because it's tactical units are different than investigatory units and administrative units, and the roles are different, and it takes all shapes and sizes, right? But you'll see folks that are very active focusing on exercise as a great stress reliever, and then you see other folks that maybe, you know what, I'm going to journal or I'm going to meditate, and that's fine. So that's the one thing that they do. The problem is you have to have self care. What happens when that SWAT guy, that tactical guy, gets hurt or injured and can't work out? What other methods of self care do they have? They don't have the journaling. So you have to have self care for psychological, self care for your spiritual relationship, for your physical, all the things. So you have to have those boxes checked. And the reason we need to do that is because if we lose our ability to, like for me, like because I exercise a lot, I go running all the time. If I can't run, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now? So there's other things that I do. Like I love reading. I love like checking out different like I'm a huge history and military history buff. And so I like researching stuff like that. Or relationship wise, let's go out to dinner. Let's go have a walk. Let's go talk or interact in some way as a team or unit. If it's something emotional, I like watching stupid ass videos on the internet. Not the violent ones and stuff like that. I've seen enough of that in my time. But
the
if there's
cat guy, y'all. He likes watching the cats.
I love that shit. Or
He
somebody
likes.
the gorilla now they have the gorilla ones where
Yeah.
anything that makes me chuckle. And by the way, Doug, Raul, and wife are they're the recipients of 5,000 different real. If I see something funny, they're getting it. I'm like, I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. Doug and Raul need to see this, and they need this
Yeah.
or some comical stuff. But to me, so that's if I can't run or work out, I'll do that. If I can't do that for whatever reason, like the internet goes out or which happens all the time here in Virginia, but go out. What else do I do? Board games. I love like puzzle games on my iPad or very mundane kind of thing. So the big thing is those two things. We're helping other people more than we help ourselves, and we don't have an arsenal of tools if one of our main sources of help gets set aside. So those are big issues, and especially with when we come into contact with you guys as far as they're in crisis. The big thing is now those things that used to help are no longer helping, whether they can do them or not. Now what do I do? So it's just a matter of just educating people like, hey, this is what it looks like. And again, I think people are scared of going to treatment or what that looks like or therapy. It doesn't always have to be the majority of the people I talk to don't need inpatient treatment. They need to talk to a clinician. And that's catharsis, just getting it off your chest, that cathartic ventilation, being able to talk to somebody without judgment. And I think we offer that in spades because there's not anything that somebody that I'm encountering or that Doug or Raul are encountering that we either haven't heard or said ourselves. So far be it from me to throw shade on anybody or pass judgment because somebody's like, and I'll give a great example. I was dealing with somebody a month or so ago, and they were like, "He goes, man, I can't. I'm ashamed to say this, but I had to, uh, I had to like sober up enough to get to work to do that." And you could tell he was there was a lot of shame behind that. I said, brother, my partner in narcotics would pick me up at 8 o'clock in the morning, which we had to be at work at 7:30, and he would drive me around until I sobered up to walk back into the fucking office. So I was like, brother, you are not going to get, which is interesting because I actually said that in a presentation where all the chiefs were at. And my chief come up to me, and goes, wait a minute, what? I was like, brother, you don't have to worry about me. I'm good now. And I'm talking about it. You got to worry about the people that aren't talking about it. And that comes to I'm worried about what people are going to think. And there's like different levels of that. Like if I ask for help, am I going to get in trouble at work? Am I going to lose my position? I get that a lot with the military folks as far as that have some significant clearances. Well, if I go get help, what I can do, folks, there's certain things that we can't undo or we can't kind of protect. But for the most part, the majority of the things that people are concerned about going to get help, if you get help before you get in trouble, you're probably going to be okay. Now, military wise, especially deployment wise and stuff like that, they say that in the military, and this is, I have them my beef with the military as well, but they still jam you up. Or within the agency, you'll ask for help. We had a kid from a sex crimes unit say, "Hey, listen, I need a break. I've been doing this for several years. Let me just investigate property crimes, and then I'll come back in a year." And they took that as, "Oh, I guess you don't want to work anymore." And they put him in property crimes. And when he wanted to come back, they were like, "No, you quit on us." And I'm like, what kind of bullshit command decision is that? This guy was looking to take care of himself so that he's not burnt out, so that he's not having this, unbelievable sense of just moral injury, just dealing with, victim after victim after victim. And I'm talking victims, not like homicide. Homicide's easy to deal with because your victim's dead, right? Your sexual assault folks, you have living victims, or robbery, you have living victims, but you're gonna penalize him so that he's not working hurt or burnt out and maybe missing some stuff, or maybe that overwhelming compassion fatigue and all that good stuff, right? So again,
Got a
that's
question here, man. Got a question here. Doug, listen to this one, man. Tend to do things that are mind numbing like video games, but then I get caught sitting on my ass all day. Is mind numbing a negative coping skill? And I think about Doug Doug, I thought about you when I read this. What do you say to that? I say it can be. It can be. But go ahead.
Man, well, there's two parts of that. If you find I talk about that in the wheelbarrow effect. And coming home, I would watch just meaningless TV, um, and do stuff that absolutely had nothing to do with anything that I did in life, nothing to do with my job. I didn't have to give any thought process, so I would watch meaningless stuff. And I use the example. I used to watch Martin. Remember Martin Lawrence, the Martin Lawrence show, Martin, and all these funny characters, and it was just dumb and it made me laugh. And the reason was that is because I mentally had nothing left in the tank to give to anything else. So there's a bad side to that. Also, the good side to now is I have a hard time sitting by myself in my own mind. Like, because when I just sit in my own mind and just sit there, like, I don't do well at meditating. But like, even an example, if I sat in my backyard by myself in a chair, or on the beach in a chair in my head, I will drive myself crazy because I have a lot of images that I can't get rid of that I don't like, or memories, etc. So I then go into the mindless video games. I play balloon pop on my phone. I shoot zombies and shit. I do that just to get out of my head. You know what I mean? So it just depends what direct. I don't know if I answered it right, but
yeah.
that's what I do. So it can go in two different directions. If you're using mind, how do you say the word, Robert?
Mind
Mind
numbing.
if you're using that to get out of your head, I would think, and Chris, tell me if I'm wrong, that would be a form of meditation to that person. Meditating by some might read books, some might listen to music, some might do breathing or yoga. That could be a mindfulness thing for that person, just being in a meaningless shit on their phone, sitting on your ass. There's nothing wrong with just sitting on your ass and being that. There really isn't. Sometimes you need to
Yeah.
just take a breath. And if you got to take a breath for an hour a day or 2 hours a day or multiple times a day because you're that exhausted and that you want to sit on your ass, then that's what you need to do. You're the most important person on the planet. Take care of yourself however it is that you have to. Don't look at it in a negative way. Look at it in a way like this is what I need to do to make myself happy today, to bring some joy into my life.
So there's a comment. Research suggests anything more than 2.5 hours is a negative coping spell, especially technology. So here's here's my take on the initial kind of comment. And Doug, you're right. There's a lot of folks because I like video games and stuff like that. I'm huge into it. I love doing that and stuff like that. But again, I temper it. There's place and time for it, and I minimize really the time I do it. But like some of the folks that I play with, they're heavy into like a lot of first action shooters or just
Mhm.
like Call of Duty and stuff like that. And they're like, it relaxes me. And I said, okay, it relaxes you. In the middle of you playing a game, stop and feel your chest and how fast your heart is racing. So
Yeah.
certain things that you think are mind numbing are actually putting you in a state of significant anxiety, right? Good stuff, or maybe you're viewing it as like a eustressor instead of distress and stuff like that. But to go back to the research suggesting that 2.5 hours of negative coping is technology is bad, completely agree. But what does that look like when you're mind numbing paperwork on a computer for 8 hours a day, or you're doing investigatory stuff, or you're listening to a fucking jail phone call for weeks at a time, or you're on a T3 or Title III wiretap and you're sitting in a room and stuff like that. It we there's a monotony that we kind of get used to, and that so our job places us in harm's way by rewarding that mind-numbing type of coping skill. Because there's times where I'll tell you what, anybody who's been up on a T3, if you've been ever been on a wire, that is the most mind-numbing, and you're listening for hours to sometimes to the most ridiculous bullshit you've ever heard of in your life to maybe get a 20-minute section of I killed that guy, kind of stuff like that, or the dope's going to be here, kind of thing. So the way I look at it is anything that makes you feel better that doesn't affect you health wise, and all technically can all affect you health wise. But if it starts changing your daily lifestyle or your daily activities in life, that that's bad. So if you're escaping to that, whether it be video games, whether it be whatever, working out, there's guys that I know. One guy that I worked with in Canine, he's like every day I'm doing 1,000 pull-ups. I'm like, first of all, you're insane. That's just ridiculous. And just one of the most in shape guys in the world. But he's like, man, it calms me down, and all relaxed. And I think he went out on the street, and within an hour, he slipped on a wet handicap ramp and broke his leg. And now he's up. Now he can't he can't work out and stuff like that. Anything to the extreme that puts you in harm's way is bad. So balance is the key. If playing video games gives you a chance to escape, looking at and let's call it what it is. I've worked homicide cases and sex crime cases where I can't not see that. I wish I could never see it ever again. But doing something that occupies my brain puts me out of that frame of thought. Now, sometimes it's healthy, sometimes it's drinking, sometimes it's doing risk-taking behavior to do whatever. So I think moderation is the key, and I think having a healthy balance of this is my playtime, but also I don't have one thing that I'm constantly doing. There's three or four different things. Like
Yeah, I think that's the deal, Chris. I think that's the moderation is the key there. Like, so if you are not dealing, coping with the things around you, and just using that video game or that whatever the hell it is, just to kind of get away from life per se, that's not going to be healthy because you're going to be there for like the person said, way more than 2.5 hours. You're kind of trying to substitute what's going on in life. So I think moderation is the key. Using it for escapes for a little while, to then get back into life. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's absolutely
Let me clarify something because I read that and yeah, don't get me wrong by what I was saying. And let me just be real clear or something. Whenever I make a statement on these type of platforms, I'm not saying it's the way. I'm saying it's a way. It's a way that I did or a way that I experienced it. I don't have no fancy ass little title after my name. I got RET and
that's
RET, man.
my favorite one.
yes,
Yeah,
sir. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
that's my title. So
I
listen,
do
I
want to I
I
do want
hope
to
I didn't steer anybody the wrong way or anything like that. But
I'm not sure. I mean, you didn't say
saying
anything
do it.
wrong, Doug. I don't
No,
think you
I'm
said anything
looking
wrong.
at it from a point that if you're struggling in a bad way, you do
Yeah,
what you got to do at that moment to make to catch
right.
your breath and do it.
so
Not
there's something I want to add to the stuff that we're talking about because everybody. me included, when we do get help, sometimes it feels like we're not getting the help we need. And I remember I went into treatment a little bit differently and very adversarial. And I remember I went to this first. I was told to go to this doctor, and I was wearing a cover jacket or cover shirt, like a flannel shirt or something like that. And I took it off, and I'm sitting down on this doctor's couch, and I had my gun on. And he's like, "Do me a favor, can you take that gun off and put it in your trunk of your car?" And so I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I left, and I never went back to that place because fuck that guy, right? So then I came back. Eventually, I was seeing this other guy, and this guy is Dr. Dwayne. Dr. D was phenomenal. He's a psychologist I worked with, and I walked in purposely taking my jacket off so he could see my gun because I wanted to fight. I'm like, "Go ahead, challenge me on it." And he didn't say anything. I'm like, "You don't have a problem with this?" And he goes, "Problem with what?" He goes, "My gun." I said, "My gun." He goes, "Are you going to kill yourself?" I said, "No." He goes, "Are you going to kill me?" I said, "No." He goes, "You're a cop, right?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "No, I'm not fucking worried about it." And I'm like, oh, he kind of took it out of my sales a little bit. And
Right.
like, wait a minute. So I started, I started talking with him, and I remember thinking to myself at that time, and then kind of looking into it a little bit deeper, is that we often look at the people when we do decide to get help as like, all right, fix me, like you were talking, like, all right, do your thing. And when they don't, I do want to remind people, because especially on the clinical side of it, and I've seen it running groups and one-on-ones and just interacting with people in crisis and stuff like that. Sometimes we are the shittiest patients you could ever possibly have. As from a clinical standpoint, we are the biggest dicks. We are the master manipulators, and we have the ability to kind of twist things to kind of make it so that we're not so much the victim, but we're in the right and they're not in the wrong. There's a humbleness that you have to kind of embrace when you're going to get help. And I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I went and saw this doctor or this clinician, it didn't work. I said, listen, dude, if you went and you had a pipe burst in your house and you called a plumber and that plumber fucked it up, would you never call another plumber for the rest of your life? No, you call another plumber. If you're not jiving with your doctor, your clinicians, work it out. Try to figure out, maybe it might be you. I'm just saying, because it was me a lot of the times. Or it might be that you're not a good fit with the clinician, because it's on both sides. Some clinicians are super good, and maybe they're not clicking with the individuals, and that's okay. And
It's like
people,
trying on shoes, man.
yeah, people again, that it's just one of those things. And I want to get that out there, because treating first responders and vets is on the clinical side. And talking to a lot of clinicians that do that, there's an intimidation factor to a certain degree, but there's also this animosity. Like, can I just give you the information that what's to help you work through this? And we're not receptive to it. So there needs to be patience on both sides of that table. It's like two people steadfast in their beliefs. One's really trying to help because, for the most part, clinicians don't just jump in your face and start treating you. You actually seek them out, right? So just find that balance and trust that
Well,
you're
some of
seeking help. If you're getting help, it's because you failed to make some proper decisions in your life. So when somebody tries to correct you, instead of having that urge to say, bullshit, this is works for me, take a second and go, okay, I've been doing it fucked up for a long time. Let me try something new. And I say that, and I was the biggest hypocrite when it came to that. Because I'm like, I know I'm not going to talk to a fucking doctor that's never been in a shooting. That's fucking ridiculous. That's absolutely insane. Of course, I'm going to talk to a doctor. Doctor knows trauma. And I say this to the guys and girls that I talk to. They're like, I'm only going to talk to a clinician that knows what I do. I said, so if you get shot in the stomach and you go to the ER, do you give a shit if that doctor knows what a roll call is, or if he knows how to treat a bullet wound? Treat the bullet wound, treat the trauma, treat the stuff like that. Does it help when they have an understanding of our culture? 100%. Does the rapport building get a little bit shorter? 100%. But get out of your own way. And for the clinical side of the house, I tell them, be patient. And they have patience. That's true. Not all of them, but most of them do. It's a dance. And like Doug said, trying on shoes. Sometimes the shoes look great. They're like, oh my God, feel great. And then 4 seconds later, you're like, this is fucking hurting my foot. Like, I don't
Right.
need. And then the shitty looking shoe that you'd never thought was good is like, oh, this works great and it feels great. And it's I
I
don't know.
got a couple of comments here, man. One saying don't get me wrong, they've watched an entire series in one day, and like you were saying, the moderation. I want to comment on that. There's nothing wrong with watching Netflix and binging for a day. That's okay.
Oh,
We all agree to that. So you're good there. Says once worked with a kid that was on technology 18 hours a day because he was involved in the drive-by shooting. His PTSD kicked in when TV was turned off. That's out there. Uh,
so by the way,
and
there is such a thing as an electronic detox. There's
yeah,
and
imagine.
I worked with a couple folks
Heard
that needed to, but again,
it. And then the last one is took me three clinicians and inpatient before finally felt better. I actually went back to one of the three clinicians after the inpatient. And that's kind of what the guys are saying. And I tell everybody, one of my sayings is that if somebody was trying to, if I'm on the street and somebody's trying to kick my ass, you know, I fight and relentlessly to make sure that I live and I survive that encounter. And when I ask people, hey, if you go outside right now and somebody's trying to kick your ass, you be relentless about it. You fight to make sure you live, to
yeah,
make sure you survive that encounter, and no matter what it took. So the same thing here. If you're looking to get better, you'll find the right clinician. Sometimes you don't drive with them, but you got to keep trying.
I want to say something to that comment for the
Hmm.
person that wrote that. What you just said there is probably the most healthiest thing
Yeah.
in a long time. Again, it's not that you had two clinicians that sucked. You had the fortitude and that internal drive to say this didn't work. What's going to work?
Right.
Failure is not. I'm not getting as well as I need to be. Failure is quitting, trying to get better. So I will tell you this from somebody who's been in that situation and gone through clinicians and treatments and stuff like that. My hats off to you. I think that's a demonstration of in that internal fortitude, that drive that I think probably a lot of that drive is what makes you good at your job. If you're doing first responder or veteran stuff like that, or military kind of situations. Uh, I've gotten punched in the face and knocked down millions of times, but I've gotten up a million and one. That to me is that's that drive that is should be honored and should be kind of put up there. Like, hey,
Hmm.
get getting better and healthy doesn't always look awesome. Like,
Right.
I didn't go skipping into an office to get help or skipping out. I felt a little bit better, but it's gradually, and it's just like working out or doing anything like that. Slow is
But
smooth.
it's so funny. It's like anything else. Aren't we accustomed when we're talking about anything else? If we're talking about knee surgery, getting a hip surgery, you get a second opinion, and it wouldn't be a big deal for you to get a second opinion or to keep trying to make sure. Or let me rephrase that. If you go to the knee doctor and he just sounds like a quack and you're just like, no, I'm not digging this one, you're not going to stop and say, you know what, I'm just going to keep walking with this bum knee for the rest of my life. You're going to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about the mental health doctor, we got to be as relentless in finding that. I always bring up my story with
It
the
took me years, man.
yeah,
It
yeah.
took me
I
years
mean,
because I hated every clinician I came across because I just wanted to slap him in the face, like, shut the fuck up. That was my attitude.
right,
Yeah.
And then it took one of them that looked me in the face and told me to shut the fuck up.
right.
Yeah.
And I felt
uh,
and I used to call her bad names. Y'all know that. And
yeah,
now, man,
yeah.
I love
Okay.
every second of her, man. She just makes
Well, I'll tell you that the
I,
first clinician I went to looked at my file and realized some of the shit that I've been through and
you must
told me
be.
that, yeah, you must be crazy because of the shit that I went through. And I'm thinking, I'm not denying that shit, but how do you know?
Yeah, exactly. Way to make a
Like,
judgment.
yeah. So now, and so what was the next thing?
Yeah. Oh, shut down.
So yeah,
Shut.
shut down. Shut down. Yeah, exactly. Shut down. Okay.
Enjoy,
You
enjoy
think
yourself talking to my face.
right. All right, go ahead and sign my paper there, and let me go back to work. So, yeah, so hey guys, we're up in about an hour now, man. So, good conversation, I think. We had some pretty decent questions, man. I thank everybody, but go around the horn. I'll let you guys shut it down.
Thank you, Fresh.
I'm sorry for eating pretzels in your face. The first thing I've stuck in my mouth yet today. No, I'm sorry for jumping in late and just coming back from talking to a group down in South Florida. But despite how the conversation went today, I would say the thing that I pull out of it is it important to take care of yourself, mentally, however that looks like. It's got to be done. It's part of the plan. You should want to do it, and like Chris said, quit giving a shit what other people think. I have a hard time with stigma in police world. Like I think that name became like a catch thing, like I got your six stigma. Because most cops I meet, and y'all get this, they don't give a shit what anybody thinks. Cops don't give a fuck what nobody thinks. And so that's their general attitude. So, don't let those type of things, that stigma word or that get in the way, and make sure that you take care of yourself so that you're healthy for a lifetime, not just a job that you're going to have during your lifetime.
Yeah, Raul.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for everybody coming on and tuning in with us this evening. Uh, yeah, just like we said, if you or somebody needs to get some help, be relentless about it. Be what's the word I'm looking for? Just keep trying to get better. Keep trying to find the right way that works for you.
Yeah, yeah. I'll just
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll say this. Yeah, again, I'm going to reiterate. Thanks so much for tuning you guys in. And we have like a loose idea of kind of what we wanted to kind of talk about. But again, this is not about what we want to talk about. It's what you guys want to hear and what you guys want to discuss. So I'm happy to shift gears at all at any given moment. But I will say this. Thank you for sharing some of the things that you guys shared. It's not alone. I think a lot of us think we're unicorns. We're experiencing something by ourselves, all alone in our own little silo. Truth is, you're not, and more people are going through what you're going through than you realize, and more compassionate and understanding than you're going to give them credit to. And on the flip side to that, people are always concerned about what other people think about them, and do they like me? Did they not like me, or whatever? And especially at work. And I got to tell you, if you think everybody at work likes you, you've got some serious issues aside from anything else that's going on. Not everybody likes you, but you know what? That's okay. And getting better or getting healthier looks different for different people. I would say we have a hard time, um, and we do this a lot. I gauge how well I'm getting by, like me, Doug, and Raul. Be like, well, Raul's getting better at that a lot quicker than I am, or Doug's doing so much better than I should be. I should be doing just as well. We all get to listen. If you run a mile, whether you walk it, you crawl it, or you speed run, or you're Usain Bolt, a mile is a mile. You've walked a mile, no matter how fast you got there, and that's the important thing. And to the person that said that they went to a couple different clinicians and find the one that works, man, good for you, brother. That kind of shit gives me hope that
Yeah.
we're working within a community that is so self motivating, and that puts their emphasis on getting better. And I just say this, and then we'll wrap it up. All the effort you put into doing the shit that hurts you and bothers you, put the same, if not more, a little more effort into getting better and staying healthy. And that's
And
that's the
you know what, Chris? I'm just going to add because what you just said is it really resonates with me. And when you're doing that, when that person, whoever that person is getting the help and they're doing what they're doing, I promise you, there's somebody else within your circle that sees you doing that.
oh shit,
And
yeah.
seeing you do that gives them the courage to maybe raise their hand and go get some help, or maybe approach you and say, "Hey, how'd you do that?"
Yeah. Or I
You
think
know,
because Raul did it and because Doug did it. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And that is so powerful. So yeah, anyway, I had to add that little part.
And by
So
the way, there's a term for that. It's called vicarious resilience. Being
go.
resilient because of the purpose of watching somebody else kind of go through it. So kudos to that person. Great stuff. And guys, thanks so much. I do got to give a big shout out to Marky, our CEO of all things media. And again, give us a little attitude. We're still working out this thing. Somebody sent me a text, and I think I know who it is. And I'm looking
I
at you.
still I still vote that Marky comes to the next show with a fake mustache.
Oh my God, we should all wear.
Yeah, I think we got to do. Well, you got yeah. You want to shave your mustache.
I'll shave it and get a fake one. The no, it said they like watching four cavemen trying to like look at a TV or start a fire or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
right, right. All right, guys.
That's who
I
you are.
appreciate you, man.
Guys, thanks a
Take
lot. Give
care.
us anything.